Good day to all of you. Our topic for today is about the foreign workers in the workplace diversity. Here are the following objectives. First is to know the importance of migrant workers, to learn the contribution of foreign workers to host countries, to be familiar of the contribution of foreign workers to host countries, to know what are the challenges of migration, and to be knowledgeable about the advantages of having migrant workers. Since 1970s, the Philippines is a country of about 7,000 islands, wherein people by diverse ethno-linguistic groups have supplied all kinds of skilled and low-skilled workers to the world's more developed regions. As of December 2004, an estimated of 8.1 million Filipinos, nearly 10% of the country's 85 million people, were working and or residing in close 200 countries and territories. The foreign population in the Philippines consists of the people of Chinese origin and some of Indian origin who came to settle in the country years ago. In the last 30 years, a culture of migration has emerged with millions of Filipinos eager to work abroad despite the risks and vulnerabilities they are likely to face. There are different determinants of migration. First is economic. Disparities in per capita income, limited growth for career advancement, the inconsistent economic growth which hampers employment generation. Next determinant is the demography. High population growth compared to neighboring countries. And the next is political, wherein long-running political unrest in the country, especially in the south, affects the migration. And then the environment, the frequency of storms, and the weak disaster preparedness teams of a country. Here is a historical backdrop. 1700s, wherein sea-based workers are ample. 1900s, so agri workers are ample too. And then 1970s, the construction workers, the surge of the demand for Filipino workers in the Middle East led to the institutionalization of overseas employment or OE program. Okay. So from 800, it became 1,000, and then over the years, a million, and then grew further in number. So now there are almost 10.23 million overseas Filipinos, and 4.86 million are permanent migrants, which is equivalent to 47.5%, and then 4.2 million are temporary migrants, which is equal to 41.05%, and then 1.16 million are irregular migrants, which is equivalent to 11.33%. More than 1.814 million OFWs left the country in 2014. So land-based more than 1.4 million, new hires more than 485,000, rehires more than 920,000, and then sea-based more than 325,000. Here are the top destinations of OFWs. The first is Saudi Arabia with 398,882. And then last is Canada, which is 17,978 OFW. Here are the migration challenges. First is the protection and welfare of the workers, harnessing the gains of migration and cushioning its social costs, need for an effective migration management system, and factoring migration into national development. The Presidential Decree 442 in 1974, according to the Labor Code of the Philippines, regulated the participation of the private sector in the recruitment and placement of workers locally and abroad. This also created the Overseas Employment Development Board or the OEDP and the National Seamen's Board or the NSB that complemented through the employment efforts of the Bureau of Employment Services or the BPS. The Republic Act 8042 in 1995, which is about the Migrant Workers and Overseas Filipinos Act, includes the regulation of recruitment activities, stricter rules on illegal recruitment, selective deployment, repatriation of workers, the integration program, shared government information system on migration, education program for prospective OFWs, one country team approach, and restructured system for adjudication of cases. And then for the POEA rules and regulations of employment or overseas employment in 2002 is about the difficulty of entering, easy to operate and easy to go policy, the safety nets for the protection of workers, and the Republic Act 9422 in 2007 is about the reinforcement of the regulatory functions of the POEA. The President's social contract with the Filipino people in 2010 is about creating jobs at home so that working abroad will be a choice rather than a necessity. So when the citizens choose to become OFWs, their welfare and protection will still be the government's priority. Quality policy, the role of POEA. We pursue excellence in governance to satisfy our customers, and we achieve this by providing effective and efficient services, operating within the requirements and standards governing overseas employment, empowering our human resources, and assuring continual improvement using ISO 9001 22 series of 2008. So this is from the COE. The core functions involves the industry regulation, the employment facilitation, and the workers' protection. The employment facilitation monitors labor markets through conducts labor market research and maintenance of the labor market information system, facilitates the development or the deployment of workers hired through government to government arrangements, and provides a system of workers registration. The Workers' Protection implements the government's program on anti-illegal recruitment and anti-trafficking campaigns, including provision of legal assistance to victims of illegal recruitment. These also conduct pre-employment orientation seminars to prospective OFWs nationwide. Here's an arbitrates complaints and cases filed against recruitment and manning agencies, foreign principals and employers, and overseas workers for reported violation of PLEA rules and regulations except for money claims. The workers' protection also includes setting of minimum deployment standards, pursues bilateral regional labor agreements with labor countries of the destination of OFWs, maintains a database of workers documented by the POEA, and prepares OFWs global mapping and profiling. This also implements gender-sensitive programs. The networks with non-government organizations, workers' organizations, which serve as a feedback mechanism of its policies, programs, and services. This provides repatriation assistance through licensed recruitment agents. The RA 8042 is about the Migrant Workers and Overseas Filipino Act, first among the countries of origin in Asia to craft a law that aims to establish a higher standard of protection and promotion of the welfare of migrant workers, their families, and overseas Filipinos in distress. Again, RA 8042. The Anti-Trafficking in Persons Act of 2003, which establishes policies and institutional mechanisms to provide support to trafficked persons. Overseas Absentee Voting Act of 2003, which gives qualified overseas Filipino the right to vote in national elections. And then the Citizenship Retention and Reacquisition Act of 2003, which allows for dual citizenship. According to a 2005 World Bank report, the Philippines is the fifth largest recipient of remittance flows after India, China, Mexico, and France. Foreign regulations of the Philippines are administered by the President of the Philippines and the Department of Foreign Affairs. Philippine international affairs are influenced by ties to Southeast Asian neighbors, the United States, and the Middle East. The Philippines is a founding member of the United Nations, an elected member of the Security Council, and participant in the FAO International Labour Organization, UNESCO, and World Health Organization. Like most nations, the Philippines is a signatory of Interpol. The Philippines is a member of the Association of Southeast Asian Nations, East Asia Summit, and the Latin Union. It was formerly a member of the now defunct Seattle, declaring itself as independent of any major power bloc of nations. The Philippines is a member of the Non-Aligned United Nations or UN is an international organization whose stated aims include promoting and facilitating cooperation and international law, international security, economic development, social progress, human rights, civil liberties, political freedoms, democracy, and the achievement of lasting world peace. The UN was founded in 1945 after World War II to replace the League of Nations, to stop wars between countries and to provide a platform for dialogue. And it contains multiple subsidiary organizations to carry out its mission. The World Health Organization is directing and coordinating authority for health within the United Nations system. It is responsible for providing leadership on global health matters, shaping the health research agenda, setting norms and standards, articulating evidence-based political options, providing technical support to countries, and monitoring and assessing health trends. ASEAN is a geopolitical and economic organization of 10 countries located in Southeast Asia and formed on August 8, 1967 by Indonesia, Malaysia, Philippines, Singapore, and Thailand. Since then, membership has expanded to include Brunei, Burma, Myanmar, Cambodia, Laos, and Vietnam. Its aims include accelerating economic growth, social progress, cultural development among its members, protection of regional peace and stability, and opportunities for member countries to discuss differences peacefully. Widely known as Interpol, this is an intergovernmental organization facilitating international police cooperation. It was established as the International Criminal Police Commission (ICPC) in 1923 and adopted its telegraphic address as its common name in 1950. The World Bank is an international financial institution that provides loans to developing countries for capital programs. The World Bank's official goal is the reduction of poverty. According to its articles of agreement, all its decisions must be guided by commitment to the promotion of foreign investment and international trade and to the facilitation of capital investment. This is a graph of remittances from April to September 2004 amounting to 79.3 billion pesos. So from 2003, it goes up in the year 2004. Here are the 8 advantages to hiring your team internationally. So international teams are easier on the pocket. Foreign workers are properly trained, grateful for their jobs. They have a large scope of network. They are open to new challenges, higher levels of economy, increased productivity, and diversity. So today, as we have migrant workers during this pandemic, as we all know, migrant workers often serve in frontline roles in healthcare, transport, and hospitality industry. Okay? So they have been employed temporarily or informal or unprotected work, which makes them especially vulnerable to job loss and wage reductions during this COVID-19 pandemic. So they also tend to live and work in crowded conditions that do not enable them to comply with the physical distancing, which also puts them at risk of contracting COVID-19. So uh, today's situation, we have COVID-19 pandemic, which is also very risky for our migrant workers. Okay? So in order to um, to help them or the global economy to be helped by the migrant workers, we should need to follow the safety health protocols, the guidelines before starting their job to foreign land, and for them to take care of themselves, to be healthy always, to always observe the physical distancing and hand washing, frequent hand washing, and other standards in order for them to be safe. So I have here a video about the intercultural cities. How can migration and diversity work for cities? Kindly watch this for additional knowledge for the topic. So that's it for today's discussion. I hope you learned something. Thank you very much and stay safe.